reduce your insurance dependence. It's time to kick those PPO plans to the curb. Now, notice I use the language reduce insurance dependence as opposed to going fee for service. And I always tell my clients that you don't have to go all the way to fee for service to see very significant measurable results in your practice. You don't have to go all the way to fee for service. However, if your goal is to go fee for service, then I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader, because that's going to be the best way to get the full leverage of that strategy, to be able to set your own fees rather than letting the insurance company set your fee. And there's never been a better time to do the preparation to successfully resign from PPO plans than now. And, since our topic on this is reducing your overhead, Naren, we have two forces. They're different forces, but they are absolutely pulverizing dentists from both directions. The two forces that I'm talking about is our expenses are going up, like we talked about earlier. Because of double-digit inflation, your expenses are going up. Everything costs more. And on the other side, your revenue, if you're a PPO practice, your revenue is going down because PPO plans are reducing your contracted fees. Delta of California just announced that they were dropping their PPO fees by 15% off what was already a dismally low fee. It's going down. So now you're being affected both ways. Your costs are going up, your revenue is going down. And the only possible byproduct of that is lower income to you.
Yes.
And it doesn't make sense. Why in the world would you let some third party set your fees that has no understanding of what your no understanding or interest on what your cost of doing business is? But they're simply lowering. They've commoditized dentistry. Commoditized, where a crown's a crown's a crown. Doesn't matter where you go. Go to one of these on the list. Crown's a crown's a crown. And we know better than that. A crown is not a crown is a crown. They're different. There's a massive difference. I believe there's a massive difference in the quality of care that's provided by our listeners as a function of the extra effort that you guys put out to ever improve yourself and your practice. I believe there's a massive difference in quality. And so I really want to encourage you to reduce your insurance dependence. And if you're early on that journey, by the way, you may not be familiar that we have a second podcast called the Less Insurance Dependence Podcast. There's over 220 episodes all about how to tactically reduce your insurance dependence. I'd encourage you to jump over to that podcast. We'll put a link. It's just lessinsurancedependence.com.
Yes.
But we'll put a link in the show notes, and I'd encourage you to listen to those. It's a short format podcast. Each episode is 15 to 18 minutes long about something tactically you can do to successfully reduce your insurance dependence. But if you're starting on that journey, where I want you to start with is I want you to start with strengthening the relationship-driven aspect of your practice. The more relationship-driven, the more you connect and develop rapport and relationship with your patients, the more you do that, the less likely those patients are to leave once you resign from their PPO plans. People don't want to leave when they're being taken care of by a doctor and team who they know, like, and trust. So the very first exercise you can do is to raise the level of being relationship-driven in your practice, because that's going to strengthen your project. One of our goals is to keep as many of the existing in-network patients as possible. And the way we're going to do that is by strengthening the relationship-driven aspect of your practice.